Space Coconut.
Okay, so the original plan was to record several podcasts over on Sunday and then release those individually. Thanks to some people in the Discord and the views on the videos, the podcasts, the smaller ones, we're not going to do that again. So instead, the podcasts that I recorded last week, well, that's these ones. I just put them all together and I'm just giving them to you like this. I'm just going to slap some gameplay on it and, I'm just going to let the podcast go. So I'm sorry for the roughness. Sorry for, everything in here. It's really rough. It's unedited. I don't think it's a good idea, but I'm going to have to adjust. But these conversations are pretty good. So let me know what you think in the comments. Blah 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 blah, and let's go. All right then. Okay, so go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what your topic was, what you wanted to talk about. Actually, what we were going to talk about because I forgot that you had a list of things and
Yeah,
we went with the first one.
yeah, I had. Yeah, I know. I'll be regular. So yeah, like I said, I go by Izanami, and basically, I just am someone who lives alone. I'm a freelance writer as a profession, and
Right on.
that leaves me with a lot of time to play video games. And I'm very fortunate in that regard. But one thing that's not very fortunate is the new player experience in Dead by Daylight, I think.
Hmm.
And so I have a friend who got me into the game who is an artist who essentially rants and raves about the game, but knows better than to play it because he was told it's the game that he would. I think the quote that he used was someone told him it's their favorite game that they would never recommend to a friend.
Mm-hmm. You see that meme on Reddit all the time.
Yeah, I know. It's like, so you've got 2,000 hours in Dead by Daylight, right? You must really like it. And it's the crying cat. Yeah.
uh, or the one with the guy introducing his friend to the new bar. He's like, "This is my favorite place," and then the angry drunk guy stumbles out and he's
Oh,
ranting
yeah.
and raving about all the awful stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, that's my favorite place."
Yeah, yeah. And I used to know the guy that drew that meme, actually. But yeah.
Right on.
So, so basically, I didn't heed the warning that he had heeded. And I made the mistake of getting into the game. And so naturally, I thought to myself, "Hey, this killer thing sounds really fun. It's got to be
Mhm.
the power role. It's going to be this fantasy where I'm just terrifying these innocent survivors, and they're all scared of me and running away."
Mhm.
So, come to find out, no, that's not really how it works, is it?
So, how many hours in the game do you have?
Right now, I think I'm nearing 1,000.
Okay, so we're talking back in the day.
Yeah, we're talking back in the day when in my youth when I was but a tot. And so, in my innocence, I got into the game and got into the tutorial and thought, this is kind of a shit tutorial, but I
Mhm.
get the controls, so that's good. And then we have the first match. Oh man, the matchmaking hit me immediately. I
Oh,
was, ranked 20 in the I don't even know what color is it because it's like this weird beige color, then yellow and so on. But
yeah.
so I was beige rank and I got two purple ranks in my first game that were very clearly Smurfs and they were very clearly equipped to bully
Mm.
and they bullied. So the other two were just new players like me. And I think in an ideal world, if the matchmaking worked properly and there were people who had just installed the game on both sides, all four players on the survivor side had just installed the game, and I had just installed the game, I think it would have been one of the best introductions to a game that I've ever had. Because what I will say is that the two people who didn't know what they were doing and were just as new as I was, they gave me that feeling that I wanted. They captured the
Right.
essence of, you know, I'm stalking them and I'm making a play on them and I'm,
Hmm.
reading their movements because I played Trap because I was like, oh, how sinister would it be to hunt these survivors like their prey,
Hmm.
That whole I was a nerd. So
A little immersed, all
and
right.
so yeah, a little immersed, a little bit. I'm a storyteller. But
Oh.
anyway, uh, so I set up the traps in really bad spots. I still remember I put a trap like right in front of the killer shack entrance,
Mm.
the entrance
Okay.
without the pallet, by the way. So so that they could walk around it, and the Smurfs did, and I learned very quickly how to play Trapper because of that.
Mm.
So the new player experience for me was like very weirdly educational and
Mhm.
demotivating at the same time because
Right.
I learned a lot, but I wasn't happy to have learned it.
I think
There's this honey. Oh, go on.
I was going to say I think that's, one of the big issues, and I'm not sure if it's even solvable because I mean, if you were only paired up with people of the same rank who had no idea what was going on, your survivor experience would be quite the opposite, where you would be might feel like you had no chance against the killer, you know, um,
Yeah,
because you don't know how to counter them. You don't know some of the tricks. You don't have any of the perks that are available to other players. So as you're, as matchmaking is a problem, if for the killer side, if they get higher, more experienced players against them, um, equally skilled people at lower ranks for killer and survivor, the survivors are most likely not going to escape because they don't know how to get away from the killer. And on their end, that might not be something that's very fun. They might gravitate more towards killer. But I think what ends up happening in that regard is that the survivors will see other survivors or videos of these survivors doing well against the killer, and then they're driven to try and improve. Whereas killer players, if they do well or they get bullied, they're going to look at these videos and they're going to see that survivors are more powerful than the killers in some areas, and they may not want to spend the time and blood points to be able to deal with survivors in that aspect.
yeah, that's actually really good points that you made that I was going to bring up less eloquently because I'm not a survivor main, but I think you sort of hit the nail on the head that it's this paradoxical thing where, like, the worse a killer is, the more fun that the survivors have, and the
Hmm.
worse the survivors are, the less fun the killer has, if that makes sense.
Hmm. I
So
mean,
it's this sort of feeling where, like, no matter what happens, the killer's fun is taking a backseat. You know what I
hmm
mean?
yeah, there are
But
instances where,
oh,
like, as a killer, I run up against the survivors I shouldn't be playing against, and you just steamroll over them, and you're like, I'm like, I just want to get the match over with, so I don't give them a chance, and I just kind of end it, which is not fun for anybody, for them. But it's not fun for me either because I don't want to let them get away, because then I'm like, well, I don't get a chance to outplay them, I don't get the chance to be outplayed, and going against lower rank, lesser skilled survivors isn't fun for me. In the same aspect that going against higher skilled survivors isn't fun either, because of the experience that that will entail for a killer. But you're right. Either
yeah,
way,
exactly. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just think
no,
that
you're fine. Go ahead.
you sort of hit the nail on the head. Well, I'm just sort of going in circles now with my idioms, but I think there's this really mythical Goldilocks zone of survivor skill level
Yes,
where
absolutely.
they're not like confident, but they're also not bad,
Hmm.
and that's so rare.
Yeah, there are a few matches where I feel like we were equally matched, and I didn't feel like I had them, in the palm of my hand, and at the same time, they um, they weren't messing with me. We were equally matched and we were both
Yeah,
trying our best.
like they're fighting back, but they're not abusing you.
Those are the
Like
best matches,
that's
and
the
you're
whole.
absolutely right. They're
Yeah,
so rare.
that's the thing we need to get back to, and I think we just need the develop. Sorry, I don't mean to go on a tangent to another topic, but I think it actually ties in a bit. I think the new player experience could be helped most by a change in perspective from the developers,
How so?
because I think so. This might sound incredibly disparaging, but that's sort of like YouTube analytics and such. So why not? Uh, I think the developers balance the game from the perspective of a rank 15 survivor main that plays once
Mhm.
a week.
It
And
sounds about
so,
right.
yeah. So I think maybe some of the Fog Whisperers, instead of just being like glorified marketing,
Mhm,
mechanisms, you could get them in and have them play the game in like little closed knit QA sessions and will
mhm,
sort of iron out all of these problems. Like you have your who are some big name survivors like your Yerbs and your Montos. Well, he plays both, but you know
mhm.
what I mean. And
Yeah,
then you have
Aaron.
like people like
Um,
Ots. Yeah, Aaron, Yerv, Monto, and you have Ots on the other side, and you have these little in-house community games. So, because I don't want to be too harsh to the developers when I say something like that, but they're making the game, they're not playing the game.
yeah.
So to be fair to them, that's you can't expect someone to like pour all of their effort into like coding and then just they have these I'm sure they have these built-in feelings about the game because they've worked on it for so long, they just kind of get tired of it after a while.
Mhm.
So bring in people who aren't tired of it, and have
Yeah,
them tell you what's a problem and what isn't a problem.
yeah.
Because
How the
I
game
don't think they know
feels.
how to balance the game. Yeah, I don't think they know how the game feels. And I think that's the most important thing. If they knew or they had people to tell them how the game actually feels, we could get so much done. I think that's the
Mhm.
most critical thing that needs to happen to
Yeah.
improve the experience for new players is to have the developers understand how those new players feel because they haven't been new players for a long time. You know what I mean?
Mhm, mhm. And this isn't even talking about the grind. This isn't even talking about, the lack of perks and all of that
Oh
stuff.
God, no. Oh
Literally
God.
just talking, just their experience in the match when they first, are dumped in. And matchmaking, I think, is an important aspect of that,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But it's kind of like I have no idea what they could do because, like, as a survivor, I'm in a unique position as a survivor player. I have almost 3,000 hours in the game, but I'm a rank 20 survivor, and there's no way I can get past rank 17. Can't do it. And I don't, if the matchmaking system took hours into account, um, it's going to look at, oh, this guy has 3,000 hours, you know, he should be ranked up with other players who have this many hours. It's a unique
Yeah,
problem.
like this guy's good enough to go against a rank one Freddy with,
Mhm.
Forever Freddy build and so on. So because he's got so many hours, obviously he can take it.
Mm, so that's a unique
But
problem, but matchmaking for new players would be a good start also. And I think when you talked about how it's easy to go into a tangent with talking about one thing leading into another, that's actually how the game is designed because every single mechanic in the game is tied to every other mechanic very, very closely. If you change one thing, it's going to affect the behavior of players in a certain way, which will then affect this other system. And it's by going on a tangent, it kind of just proves the point that everything in the game is very closely connected and until the devs focus on a specific thing and work outwards from it, they're not really going to solve any problems. They're just going to create a bigger mess.
yeah, yeah, I didn't think about it like that, but you're absolutely right. I think there's a lot of value in the idea that fixing one thing has this ripple effect that just unintentionally fixes other things. And obviously it will break other things as well because
Hmm.
you introduce a patch, you're going to break something. But if you really nail down the new player experience, I think that might be the single most important thing for player retention. And if you're talking about just fixing the game as a whole, I think that new player retention might be the most important thing that you can fix, because I
Mm,
know from my personal experience, people I've, you know, done the disservice of introducing to this game, they've bounced off because it's
yep.
so bad, like we talked about. So I think if you
Mhm,
could fix that, you would have new voices added to the sort of chorus. And instead of a chorus of people screaming at each other back and forth, you would have these new, fresh voices with new, fresh ideas. And the developers
mhm,
could listen to them instead of listening to the same people who are like, oh, Nerf, Ruin, Undying. Oh, Nerf, Decisive, Unbreakable. Because they've
mhm.
heard that a million times. But if they can
Yeah.
keep new players in, those new players will have new ideas. And that's another, knock on effect, like you said.
Mhm. Oh, or at the same time, those new players, new to the game can see, oh, look, ruin is a problem, or mores are a problem, or this or that, or this other thing are problems. And then the devs will be like, okay, so even these new players with like 2 hours in the game are telling us that this is a problem. Maybe it's something that we should look
Yeah.
into and fix, the same thing that other players have been telling them to change for years. So yeah, it's
You know
gonna.
what? Yeah, because it's really easy to, sorry to cut you off again, but it's really easy to ignore the people who have been banging on about something for like 3 years. But if a new player says it, you're absolutely right. That's like a wake up call to like, oh my God, this actually is a problem.
Mhm, mhm. There was something else I think I was going to mention. Let me see. We were talking about new player retention. There was something I was going to talk about in that aspect, but I completely forgot what it was.
Uh,
Mm.
so it was related to new player retention. Was it going to be like the feel of the game for new players and like expectations maybe?
No, no, I completely forgot what it was.
Ah, that's fine.
But it is an interesting topic. It's an interesting take because it's not an angle I would have looked at from the player perspective in regards to retention and that. But yeah, it's an interesting idea. It's an interesting take.
Yeah, again, sorry for the, congestion and whatnot, but I just, I feel very strongly about this game, and despite the shit that we give it, I'm sure that deep down, even the coldest, blackest heart on this toxic community, as the forum labels us, I'm sure
Mm.
we all love the game, and we want it to be better, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think everybody agrees that we want the game to improve. The trick is getting the devs to listen to the right ways to do that. Uh, but
And if only we could somehow bundle up a bunch of money and then attach a note on the other side of it, because the only thing they pay attention to is money. So just like
mm,
sneak in a suggestion on $100
yeah.
bill.
The other thing that I was going
Oh
to mention,
God, how?
I remembered at the last second was when we were talking about the changes and things that the right changes. The devs are going to change keys, but nobody knows what they're going to
Yeah.
do.
Oh God, that
Right?
could go so many ways, couldn't it?
Exactly, exactly. It could be awesome. It could be bad. It could be just a completely useless change. It,
It's like,
nobody
hey,
knows.
keys now
That's
take a half a second to open. It's
mhm.
you know,
Yeah. But the
it's like,
hatch now
okay.
uh, but survivors can now see the aura of the hatch. Just different
Oh
things.
yeah.
It's I don't know. I don't know what the devs are gonna do, but
No,
I'm
I know what
waiting
I know
to
what it's
talk
gonna
about
be.
keys until.
I know what it's gonna be. Victor can now hold the hatch closed.
Oh, that would be funny.
Yeah. And then that's the only change. That's the only change to keys. So buy twins, please.
Exactly. So, are there any other final
uh,
thoughts you want to share with everyone?
uh, I would say subscribe to Space Coconut, but that's already been done. So I'll have to find a better joke. Subscribe to Noob3 on YouTube.
There we go. All right, man. You feel
Okay.
better,
Well, I hope
okay?
oh, thank you so much. I would say you too, but yeah, I don't think you're feeling bad. So goodbye, I guess.
Later. Take care, dude.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, so let's go ahead and start. Go ahead and tell everyone a little bit about yourself and the topic that you wanted to talk about.
All right, I am Rain Man. I do have my own YouTube channel that I post to, but it's currently on a bit of a break.
Mm.
I play Dead by Daylight on Xbox, and I play both sides pretty evenly.
All right.
And the main when it comes to like just me playing in general of killer, survivor solos, and group when I play with friends and whatnot, the I've noticed that sometimes like perks change when it comes to survive with friends and survive in solo. Like I might see when I'm going into solo queues, I see more often than not the more annoying, to say the least, builds,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes, or when in a group, there's like more team synergy really there, really people bent on working together because they're within that in the group
Mm-hmm.
because it's people that they know. But when solo queues, there's an entirely different like mentality because of the divide that's kind of there
Mm-hmm.
with
The teams are able to
yeah
communicate and talk, and then the solos are kind of trying to work with the other team and hoping that they do their job.
yeah. All the while there is that hope that you're basically without going ahead and going for solo queues, you have to hope that, as you brought up recently, that your teammates are at least a golden potato and that they you have to hope that they are like that because of how the ranking system is and whatnot. You have to
Mhm.
hope that in solo queues that they will do what is need to be done. That if they are running around, that they're hopefully either keeping the killer distracted or running to do another gen or something, like do something productive to help the loosely made team without a any sort of actual verbal connection there or
Mhm.
knowing that
So, is do you find this to be a problem, or is this something that needs to be solved, or is this just an observation that you've made with the people that you play against?
it's it's an observation I've made from both playing as within those lines.
Hmm.
Who are you talking to?
um, let's see here. So that is a pretty good point because I noticed that I end up playing differently if I realize that survivors are in a group or if they're not in a group. Like sometimes they'll all have the same name, or we don't know for sure if it's a Swift group or not. But usually, I assume if they're all dressed the same, that they're in a Swift group. Usually, sometimes it's you can tell that if there's a lot of body blocking going on or a lot of, like you said, coordinated actions, you can tell that it's a an organized group of players. And I find that I think everybody finds that even if a Swift group isn't trying to win very hard, they're not the sweaty, SWAT team that they're trying, that people say that they are, that they can still do really well against a killer, as long as they don't play over altruistically. But the difference in the game styles is very very apparent, and the difficulty of the games do change depending on if you're going against a Swift group or a group of solo survivors. That is true.
Yeah, and another like point, the other like topic that I did have, it's more of the side topic. It's
Hmm.
just how bugs like really impact the game. And I've been I've been playing this game since the Hag was released.
Hmm.
And it's been a long time since then, and to see basically every throughout the years that no matter what, if I can just search up possibly a Dead by Daylight glitch compilation, because it's
Mhm.
probably exists in some form, and we all know the meme of a pretty good job so far that we created at the beginning, which has become more of a phrase that's become saddened
Yeah.
with age.
Yeah, the
As
fact that the game is in the state that it is, and yeah, we understand.
yeah, like we're all hoping that it goes from a pretty good job so far to a pretty good job now.
Right.
That and like when this new chapter came out, and I just see all like because console players can't like actually play the test servers, which
Mhm.
even further limits the bug testing because there is going to be console differences.
Yeah.
It also limits the possibility of finding glitches faster. I watched seeing all those glitches in vids or streams, seeing them, and you just see some people who have been playing for a long time just being like saddened or hurt that it's like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, they
Even
couldn't believe that they released it like that.
yeah, yes, it's a public test server, but it should not be that bad to that extent.
I think the interesting thing about that with their recent statement, they talked about that they knew the twins was their most ambitious killer and that it was really difficult and this and that and the other thing. I think it's really it was just kind of sad that they released it anyway, that there were so many issues with it and they still released it, and by making that statement they admitted that they don't really have a QA team, and that they release it to live servers and use that feedback to make the fixes and things like that, which kind of blows my mind that for the first week or two after the new release of a chapter, we are the QA team at that point, which I couldn't believe it when I read that.
Yeah, it's one of those things that they're like it gets to me because I've seen games that have survived years of bugs because they did actually get to it at some point. I've seen multiple examples, especially the most popular one, which is Rainbow Six, because that
Mm,
was the one that truly did it like full blown. We're doing a whole update. Your suggestion of like the skins to support it, that's a grand suggestion towards that. And like it hurts to see a game that could be something so great as one of the, like probably one of the younger fans, because it's just like this could have so much potential. You
yeah.
could have a game that could last a very long time with how much stuff that you do have already here. If you were to fix it up, this could be a grand game and could
I
really rack in more than you're already making with it.
mhm. I think the interesting thing about that is that it's not just the bugs that are the issue, it's that the game actively drives people away from the game. It is so frustrating to play that people stop playing it because it's frustrating. And in that interview with King, Kote admitted that they want the game to be frustrating, but he thinks that frustrating is a good drive to play a game. When I don't know a single person who plays a game deliberately to become frustrated, and that part of it blows my mind. If the game wasn't frustrating, where you could lose and you're like, they got me, oh, I lost fair and square, that you could take that loss and not be frustrated over being cheated through the mechanics in the game, that wouldn't drive people away. And then we go back to the newer players, right, who have to overcome millions and millions and millions of blood points in order to even get a basic build for their killer. That's ridiculous too. The barrier to entry is way too high for a new player. There are a lot of things that need to change in order for Dead by Daylight to be a really good game.
Yeah. And over time, I've just been as because I was one of those people that actually had to take a break for a little bit. I came back when like Oni came out.
Now,
I
how long was your
was
break?
uh it was a good while, and like I can't exactly say the right amount. I just remember that once like Oni had Legion had was still fairly new when I had
Mm.
come back, and I got to experience Legion in his interesting days. And like to come back to that was interesting to say the least. But I had to take a break. There's some games you can sure you might like leave it be or something, but you if you really like it, you'll come back to it when you
Mhm.
want to, and it's not feeling like a break. You just were playing something else possibly
Mhm.
because how much you loved the game. You were just looking at something new for a bit, and then you go back to it. This is some you shouldn't have to take a break for a good game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you notice how many of the bigger content creators are having trouble playing the game?
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, I think Farmer John is having a really hard time playing the game. Who else? I think Sept took a break to play Cyberpunk, which I think is pretty cool. There are a lot of players who want to play something else, and they just, for content creators, it's more difficult because it's a job and you have to go where the money is. But man, some of them are suffering because of it.
Yeah, it it's just been a long-winded battle, and I hope that eventually they really do wake up. I don't really. I've been keeping up, and when I'm just like, this doesn't feel rather like the devs by this point have that much of a grasp, if anything, because of how bugs are and whatnot, that the company itself needs to realign and realize, hey, you need if you want more people coming in, you need to have a good reputation already.
Yeah, yeah. I think Bethesda did that for a while, and then they blew it with Fallout 4 or Fallout 76. Like
Oh
everybody
yeah.
was really
I,
excited for Fallout. Everybody's excited for Skyrim coming up
I
now after the things that happened. I mean, I know I'm worried about what's going to happen with that game.
I was one of the people who played Fallout 76. Like I got it. Like, what have I
How long
done?
did you
I've made
play
a
it?
bad dude. It didn't even last a week. It lasted
Yeah,
5 days, and I'm
I
just
was almost there. I was almost there. I almost had it pre-ordered. I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait just in case. It was pretty crazy. They reused old code and stuff. I think the giant monster bug or the giant monster radioactive thing had the same code as the Skyrim dragons, and it that they didn't even change the names in it. I remember that news. It was crazy
that
what they did. All
uh,
right, man. Well, I appreciate the chat. Is there anything else you want to add to it? Add to the end of this?
uh the only thing I have to add to the end is that I just hope there's only really much I can say is that I have hope for this game, and they still have. Yes, it's 4 years in, but they have time to fix it, and they should give themselves that.
Mm, absolutely. Well, hey, Rain Man, thanks for hanging out with us today. I appreciate it. It was a good chat.
Yeah, it's been nice talking to you.
All right, you have a good one.
Yep. Bye.
Bye. All right, buddy. So let's go ahead and get this started. Oh, I got to turn that off. I need to turn these notifications off. Let me
I was
see here.
taking notes here, man. Like, didn't expect to get put in so soon.
Oh yeah, no, I'm the conversations are only like 10 minutes, and I grab the topics
Yeah.
that sound like they're going to be, pretty good conversations. There are some where it's like opinion based, and I feel bad about picking and not picking people, but what can you do?
Well,
But
I mean, some conversations are obviously just more interesting. You can't pick everyone, else you'd be there all day.
all day. All right, man. So go ahead
If
and
you're
tell us
lucky.
a little bit about yourself and what you want to talk about today.
Well, there's nothing really much to say. I'm a college student and haven't much because of quarantine
Mm.
in the UK. Been playing Dead by Daylight for 2 years now since the clown came out, actually.
Oh, very cool.
Just after he came out, so I didn't have to deal with pallet vacuums.
So what was the topic that you wanted to talk about?
I'd like to discuss about metas and how it can be a very difficult thing to deal with. Like, this isn't to, give any leeway to the balance team. No, not at all. I think some of the stuff they've done is just really dumb.
Okay.
But it is also really difficult because at the end of the day, if like perks, strategies, whatever you name it, killers that are just plain more effective will always show up, right? I mean, like, look at Old Hex Ruin. It was just so effective because of how it slowed down the early game. That's why it was run in, what, like 95% of the games in red ranks?
It was a lot. It was a lot of matches, yeah.
Yeah, because it was just super effective. It slowed down the game, allowing you to build up your pressure. I mean, like, look at the recent strategies now.
Yeah, with Undying, it made it more effective again, at least on the killers that can force survivors off of generators and stuff.
I've had a lot of success with it on Deathslinger as well. Killers are just effective in chases as well. It's just all about how you use it.
So, in regards to metas, so was it that you wanted to talk about how difficult it was to balance metas, or that metas were going to show up regardless?
Yeah, metas in general. So, like, there'll be perks that are just plain better, and there'll be strategies that are just more efficient. And at the end of the day, this game is just about efficiency, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. That's a really, really good point, actually. So, in regards to go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just gonna go on a little tangent here. I was playing a game called Risk of Rain 2 recently, and it's all about efficiency. You're effectively trying to go through levels and fighting against the clock as the game gets harder and harder. And there's just characters in there that are just better. Like, there's someone called the Captain, and one of his unlockable skills is that he can hack items in an area to 0 so he can get more loot, essentially. People complain about it, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's effective, it's powerful, and if he didn't have that, he'd be weaker. But then you play someone else.
So what do you think? Okay, so if we all know that the metas and stuff have kind of been stale in Dead by Daylight for a while. Some of the things have changed recently for Killer, but what do you think the devs could do to improve the impact of a meta? Because, like you said, it's going to pop up regardless as they introduce new perks and new killers and things like that. But what do you think the devs could do to mitigate, like, I guess the Decisive Strike, Unbreakable combo, and the Dead Hard or Sprint Burst or Exhaustion perk? Those are all very, very effective tools for survivors. What do you think the devs could do to mitigate or at least change up, even just a little bit, the survivor meta in that regard, or just the meta in general for the game?
I think personally we should at least go for most perks. Obviously there are exceptions. We should just go down the buff route instead of the nerf, because we keep nerfing things. There's going to be a whole list of perks that are just not going to be effective. You just can't use them because Decisive is better. Ruin Undying is just better. So what if instead we buffed them, put limitations so that they cannot be stacked consecutively or have mitigated effects?
I think
again, I'm going to go to Risk of Rain because that would create a lot of like text for the game. But what Risk of Rain does is they have like little effects. So instead of saying, "Oh, you can sprint and attack at the same time," it says agile, and then when you hover over it, it tells you what agile means. And sorry, go on.
No, it's okay. I don't understand the game. So when you hover over it, what I understand that it tells you what it is, but you mean that you're limited in what you can use?
It's It's the text. Like they had when they were buffing, the devs found out that the text was just too long for the skills, and it'd get overly
Oh,
confusing, kind of like the killer powers and the
how
perk icon. So what they did instead was they made just little small descriptors. So instead of saying, "Oh, this poisons and does 10% of your health," it says poisonous, and then it tells you what it does. Or
I
agile, you can use this while sprinting. So
I
just
see.
shortens down the text considerably.
Okay, so
And
how would that
go on, sir.
so how would that impact the meta, or like the what the devs do in regards to the meta? How would that affect that?
Well, it allows them to create more detailed descriptions, instead of saying, "Oh, this perk is active for 60 seconds. If the killer picks you up, it does this, it does that."
Hmm.
These factors, you can shorten down the text with little just subheadings like Decisive Strike gives effect for X amount of time. Instead
Oh,
of borrowed time, it says, instead of going for the whole endurance, all you need to mend, etc., it just says gives the endurance effect. And then it tells you what the endurance does.
Hmm. I do understand what you mean by, like, the lengthy bits of text, but I'm not sure how that would impact the meta unless the devs were, I see what you're saying about buffing the perks and making those effective, so like they're good alternatives, like if there was another alternative to Decisive Strike or Unbreakable or anything like that.
Yeah, it's mostly there to just make the text shorter, make it less confusing for new players, because there's a bunch of people, they just don't understand, or there's too
Yeah.
much text for them. So if we just shorten it down a bit, make it more concise, and that'll help. But that doesn't have anything to do with the buffs, though. But
Mhm.
if you were to buff a whole bunch of perks, make them slightly better, make the top tier ones slightly lower. It
Mhm.
gives more options to the survivors. So instead of just running that, you can also run builds like, how some people run head on and stuff. It'd give
Yeah.
more incentive to use that.
Mhm.
I'm
And
not
with
asking for huge nerfs though, because that would just kill the perks and make everybody unhappy, but make the
mhm.
unfun and boring ones less effective and buff up the interesting ideas and concepts.
To make different perks that make the game fun and interesting to play rather than more effective or less effective. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
It's
because
not a bad
instead
way
of
to go. Go ahead.
we're just slot, but instead of like it's the whole, oh, he's using Undying Ruin
Hmm.
meta, you have to actually guess, and that
Hmm.
guessing can keep things interesting, can keep you on your toes, because you might have a perk and you have to try and figure out what the 4 perks are.
Yeah,
Same
because
with
I mean,
Killer versus Survivor.
yeah, because like as a killer, if a survivor has every survivor, well, right now, killers can assume that they're running Decisive Strike. The only way they know that it's not in the match is if there isn't an obsession. If there's an
Yeah,
obsession,
and
the
that's
killer can expect multiple Decisive Strikes.
and that's what I don't like about Decisive, is that there's no other perk in the game that has this effect
Hmm.
just by existing. Like
Just by
the
existing.
obsession status effect makes the killer play so differently.
Hmm. Because that's the only obsession perk that's really, you know, worth it, I guess. That
Yeah.
and you're absolutely right that that drives killers and players to play completely differently, and survivors too, because they won't. They'll once they get unhooked, they will accept that extra downing because they can just get away scot free. So they play differently also.
Yeah, so like if we give more incentive to players, to killers not to tunnel and survivors to do other things, the game will just get slower naturally, because the killer won't feel the need to tunnel and the survivors
Hmm.
don't feel the need to just sweat it out. They can actually slow down and have fun.
And
And it
enjoy the
should
match.
hopefully fix out it should hopefully fix a large majority of the issues. And if not, then we can more closely look at it.
No, that's a pretty good point. That's a really good point.
Thank you. How
It
long do we, by the way?
Oh, like I'm it's anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes. We've been doing this for a little under 10-ish. Is there
Oh,
anything
okay.
else you want to talk about?
No, not really.
All right then. Is there any
Unless
final
you've got
thoughts?
any other questions.
Not really. I mean, I usually end it with this. Like, if you have any final thoughts on the topic or anything else you want to say at the end of the show.
I think I've said it all, really.
All right then. All right then. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Ghost. I really appreciate it. It was a really good topic to talk about.
Mm-hmm. You too. Have a good day.
All right, you too. You take care.
Bye.
Bye. Hello.
Oh, hey, how you doing?
Surprise, you're on.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. How's this process working with the posting and the thing and waiting in the waiting room? How's that? How's that feel?
It's not bad. It's kind of the thing that was while I'm in the waiting room, it's kind of not sure what to do. It's like, I guess I'm just chilling on Chrome, just like looking at stuff, just waiting around.
Oh, I see. I'll have to figure something else out there. Okay. Yeah, because I'm trying something different. Just because of what happened last podcast, I wanted to see how pre-recorded will work. But yeah, I'm noticing that people are waiting in the waiting room, and then I pull them all of a sudden, and I'm not sure if that's a good process or not. But I guess I'll finish off today, and we'll see how they liked it.
Yeah, it seems
So,
okay so far. It's just I feel like we should get something for a notice because I heard the ping. I'm like, oh, oops, forgot I was in the waiting room.
Alrighty, I'll have to go with suggestions next time. All right, so go ahead and share with us a little bit about yourself and the topic that you wanted to cover today.
So I've played Dead by Daylight on both systems. I started on PC, but for a while my computer was having issues where my screen was just having a bunch of flicker and eventually broke. So I
Hmm.
had to stop playing it on PC. And then lo and behold, it became free on PS4 at one point. So okay, I guess I'll switch over for now until I fix my computer. So I ended up playing on that for about, I want to say 8 or 9 months before I actually got around to fixing my machine before I went back onto PC. But I've gotten both sides from it, a little bit of PC and a little bit of console.
Okay, and what's the topic we want to cover?
I wanted to talk about how the balance of killers feels a lot different on console compared to PC,
All right,
due to the
so
fact that the mechanics are weird.
all right, so go ahead and start us off. It's a good topic. I don't play on console, so I don't know much about this. So go ahead and start us off.
So from when I was playing on console, the time I was playing console was probably around right right before they released Death Slinger, I think. I think it was a couple months before they released Death Slinger, so the killers that were already out since then.
Okay.
But what I noticed is due to how it is when you aim on controller, because the sensitivity is really weird when you're using a stick compared to a mouse, a lot of
Hmm.
killers felt really bad to play compared to how they do on PC. So an example of that is like when you're trying to aim with Huntress, or if you were to do Death Slinger now, or Nurse after a blink, when you try to turn with the aim on there, it's just
Mm,
so awkward. Like you feel like you're playing with like uh I would say a little bit of a handicap going on with it when you're
right.
using a stick.
That would make sense.
So
Like your turning is really slow compared to what it could be on a on a PC.
yeah, it feels
Because
delayed. That's how I would say.
I usually when I teleport as Hag, I usually spin really quickly afterwards. So from what you're saying, if that were any slower by using a controller, I can see how that would be a really big problem.
Yeah, it just feels really bad to play. You could still get away with doing it. Like if you're playing Huntress and you just know where to throw your hatchet at, like what, just wait for them to put the pallet down. You know where they're going for a loop. You could still predict people, but the more I would say twitchy aim, you wouldn't be able to
Mm.
do. With
So
Hag, it's not as bad, I would say, because you know when you do the teleport, you got that little bit of that auto lock when it's facing the survivor with the teleport.
okay,
That helps a
yeah.
bit.
So in regards to this, what do you think the devs could do to alleviate the problem? Or what else could people do to alleviate the problem?
Well, I'd see it's like an issue of I don't know how if they could balance killers a little bit differently on console compared to PC. I don't know exactly what they'd be able to do, but there would have to be some sort of balance going on.
Okay.
Because what's stopping me too from just because it's so hard to play Huntress or Deathslinger or Nurse, I could just play Michael. I could just walk around M1ing people because I don't
Mhm.
have to worry as hard about my mechanical skill getting hampered by the controller.
Right. Have you played Hillbilly on the console?
Surprisingly, he doesn't play bad on console. Like when I
Okay,
played him, he
so
actually felt really good to play on console, which is surprising.
so what I was going to ask was when I'm on PC and there's that split second when he first starts sprinting, right? That
Yes.
the sensitivity is really high there. Is it the same way on with a controller?
Yeah, you still get that flick, but what I would do is I would just let go and not keep moving the stick
Mhm.
until he starts taking off, just to reduce it from doing that flick.
So you do have that high speed at that moment.
Yes, you still have a bit of that flick.
So what if you had that after a blink with the nurse? Would that help with the problems that you're having with that killer in particular, at least?
You
Like
mean where when you're playing nurse,
where
you're able to get like a hillbilly flick on it?
mhm. If you were able to turn very quickly during that period of time.
That might be able to help, or even better yet, too. I was thinking, since you can use the right stick as a button, what if you could use that to change sensitivity mid game?
That might be something interesting, but I think asking the devs to implement a new button for a new process is kind of a lot, considering they couldn't add a new button for the twins.
Yeah.
There's some issues there, but it kind of seems like if the killers on console, I mean, if they did that on PC, I feel like it would break a few killers and it would cause some mains to flip out. But if that sensitivity problem, being unable to turn quickly after using their power or after doing something, if they had something like the Billy Flick after that, just for console, I wonder if that would solve the problem, or at least be a direction that the devs could take to help console players with that problem.
It would definitely take a bit of you'd have to relearn your mechanics a little bit, but I feel like that could help at like a higher level once you get that down.
Mm. Are there any other killers that really are hurt by control play?
Um, it seems like it'd probably be a lot easier to spin out the blight on console
Mm.
because you remember you're getting hamper turning, and now you have hamper turning with a controller too on top of that.
Right. Yeah, you get double dipped on that on the handicap. That's a yeah. The Blight's control at the end does need some work. But I mean a
Yeah.
lot of people can do just fine with them. But I suppose it's just a matter of practice and getting used to that I guess you want to say it's like sticky controlling, right? It's just kind of slow and it's pretty interesting.
Um, Something that they did for I'll give an example is Overwatch. They balanced the game two different ways for console originally. They had console get separate balance patches than the PC version did. Like I don't know
What?
how they would implement that balance wise if they want to do a balance patch for console for Dead by Daylight. But what they would do is they did like an example of Torbjorn had a turret. They they reduced the damage on console because it's harder to aim on console.
Okay.
So another thing they might be able to do is put a little more maybe aim assist on lunges, for example, or give it a little
Mm,
bit more. But the thing is too is if it's too strong of an aim assist, then you just tap the
yeah.
button, they're right behind you, and you just smack them when you
Yeah, or they're going
get
through
the
a
hit.
wall or a door and you get the wall instead. Yeah, I've had my problems with aim assist, but I do understand how it could help some players. That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one because and maybe that's an aspect that they could look into is like instead of making both versions, the PC and the console, as identical as possible, that maybe instead they could, like you said, um, increase the aim assist on the console versions or implement some different mechanical changes to the killers on the console version to help with the controlling aspect of it. It'll be interesting to hear what
Hey,
other people have
no.
to say about that.
Yeah, I think that the main thing boils down to also the frame rate when you're trying to hit people.
Uh,
I haven't been on console in a while now, but I've heard that there's been really bad FPS drops with every rework they do for the maps.
yeah, the increases with the what is it, the graphical updates, it has been slowing some people down. But then there's all the other people who say, "Oh, it looks amazing," and those are the people who have, managed to get their hands on the next gen consoles, the PS5 and the Xbox Fancy Pants, whatever one that is. But those are that's hardware that is more powerful than what this game was originally designed to run on, and it has no problem running those extra graphics. So the game was already unoptimized before, and now they added to it, which I noticed that my computer is it likes when I start Dead by Daylight, the lights flicker. It's consuming so much power to turn
boy.
on the game. Yeah, my lights start flickering, and you can always tell, that it only happens with Dead by Daylight. It doesn't do it with anything else. Once I hit spacebar to continue and it loads up all the stuff, the lights start flickering and stuff. So I mean, it's on top of me having a bad system, an 8-year-old system, but the game itself, could use some optimization, I think, as we all know.
You think that Operation Health that they should do would be good for console as well if they were able to optimize it for both systems?
I think it would be tricky. I feel like they would only take care of the problems if they were going to take care of problems for PC and console, they would only take care of the problems that existed on both console and PC, which means problems that exist on the console but not on the PC, or on the PC and not on the console, wouldn't get fixed for a while. And I feel like if they did it that way, it would be a waste of a patch, But, choosing to do one system before the other, that's not a good look either. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation if they actually do decide to do some kind of health patch. But maybe they could do it all at once and then release it all at once instead.
Only time will tell, though. Who knows how long it's going to take?
Yeah. And all things considered, I don't think they're going to do it because, like I've said before, there are too many things that are hard baked into the game now. They would have to change multiple things to change just a few things, like the core of the game and that. So, I mean, if they look at gens, they have to change all of the gen perks that they've started to make. If they change healing, they have to do the same thing. If there's, by putting it off, it's like laundry, if you put it off because it's not bad, and then eventually when you do your laundry, you got baskets and baskets and baskets of laundry that you have to do, and it takes exponentially longer to get through that crap instead of just doing it a little bit when you had the chance. So I feel like that's where the devs are, and I'm not sure if they're going to take the time to do that.
Well, they're at the giant load where they have to go top-down view going on everything now, compared to how they could have done it piece by piece. Yeah.
I only say that because I had a ass ton of laundry to do today. It was relevant. Oh man. So, is there any final thoughts you want to share in regards to this?
Nope. I just want to get some general thoughts out there, see what you had to say about them too.
Right on. That's pretty cool. And it'll be interesting to see what the comments say about it, because I don't use a controller. I'm not very good at it. So people who do use a controller in the comments, there'll be an interesting conversation down there.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for sharing the ideas.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I'll catch you later.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Hello. Okay, so go ahead and tell everyone a little bit about yourself, and then tell us what you wanted to talk about.
Can I? Hello? Are you hearing me, Space?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you now. Now I have my phone. Sorry. Did you you reset everything, right?
Yep.
Sorry. Okay, we're now recording, right?
Yep.
Hello, I'm 22. I'm a DVD player since 2016. I see myself as a killer main, but I play both sides because I think killers have are a bit more a disadvantage, but and I would like to talk about what is a winning DVD, in my opinion, what I think is a winning DVD.
All right.
Oh my god. Sorry, Space. Can you restart? Okay.
No, we're just recording. So we're just talking.
Okay. It's because my thing's disconnected. Hello.
Hey.
And okay. In my opinion, this is just my opinion. Obviously, it's not fact. I think that getting the rank up is the win, right? Because in every other game, ranking up is winning. It's in
Okay.
everything. And my objective is so that people understand that even you maybe don't play as well, or maybe you get tunneled or whatever. If you got the safety pip, it's fine, you know. Because
But in
a
that
lot of
case,
survivors think, say.
but if you safety pipped, then you didn't pip, so you didn't win.
But you drew. You kept the pip, which is something good, right?
That's a draw. It's not a win. It's a draw.
Yeah, but it's better than not deranking, right?
Well, that's the thing. Is if we're going to talk about winning, you have to decide. So you have to clearly state what is or what isn't winning. You said the ranking system is winning, so we have to establish that losing a pip is losing, gaining a pip is winning.
Yeah.
So if you don't gain or lose a pip, then that's a draw, which is neither a win
it's a draw,
nor a lose.
Yep, that's I think a problem that DVD has. Like it should say, "Hey, look, dude, you drew. It's fine. You don't have to be mad, right, or whatever, right? Hey, look, dude, you lost. You'll do better next time, right?"
There are a lot of times where I'm playing as Hag and or any killer, and I manage to sacrifice all 4 killers, or they all get killed or whatever, but it's still draw.
All 4 killers. Yeah, because sometimes the unknown system for killers is a bit badly designed. Because there's some killers that don't get the chase bonus score, right? Examples: Plague, Michael when he kills with the tombstone. But that's a bit different. She like, it's kind of not fair, And the same things for Survivor. Like you loop for 5 gens, you get killed because and you drew. That's not fair as well. It's kind of bad.
What about the survivors? What about the survivors who get killed but still pip?
It doesn't. How should I say? It's good that the game's like that because I'll give an example of a game I play a lot. I can't play DVD now. It's Identity TV. I don't know if you heard about it. Right?
I think so.
Identity TV. It's the mobile game, right? The mobile DVD, the one that can. And the thing I hate about that game is the winning conditions, which are kills and escapes, which in my opinion don't represent skill, because you can win by playing a 4-minute match where you place camp and one hook everyone, or you can have the opposite, which is you get gen pushed and you only get one and you lose, right? But that's not fair because I can play the game, right? 4-minute gen push. And the Survivor, it's very frustrating because if you have a bad team, you lose as well.
Yeah.
So in a way, that's made DVD much better than IDV and made it successful, in my opinion. Because
so what do you think the devs could change to make it better?
What do I think? They could make it clearer that the player, they could make it like, hey, look, you drew, you won. Instead of being like, you got sacrificed, you lost, right? But that's my opinion, obviously.
Do you think they should? Do you think that they should change like the tasks that players need to win or lose?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe it could be like get pip 5 times in a row, or 5 matches you've been a pip, instead of escaping through a key, which through a hatch. Like remember those rifts where it was
actually a good point.
Selfie. Yeah.
So in regards to like the killer, do you think a killer loses if a survivor gets an escape through the hatch?
I think a killer loses if he lost a pip. So you
No,
could
I'm
like
talking about.
4K.
Well, what I mean by lose is like in the emblem system.
Yeah.
The emblem system punishes a killer if they don't sacrifice a survivor, right? So according to the emblem system, if
Kinda,
a
yeah.
survivor escapes through the hatch, they technically lose that emblem, right? Do you think that's fair?
Mm, mm, I think not actually. That's a good point. That's actually a good point that I had an idea. If someone escapes through the hatch, it counts as a kill for the killer. The emblems. That's something I thought
Because
about
yeah, it would be
because they
interesting.
didn't get through the exit. Yeah,
Mhm,
it was a pity
exactly.
escape, right?
Yeah, a pity escape.
Also, it's not it's off topic, but it's the winning condition. I have an idea for YouTube, and I would like to know the opinions in the comments. I'll be there. Check me out. Please don't please be nice. Like we can have different opinions, and
You can go ahead and
something to
you can
flip.
go ahead and save that for the last part, okay? But
Oh, sorry.
you're okay.
So what? So what do you want to discuss now?
No, that's up to you. What else do you want to talk about in regards to
Um,
winning? Like, is there anything that needs to change, or do you want to fix it, or uh,
maybe survivor friends. It should be harder to pip
how would you do
because
that?
you're basically you by every survivor. If you have 2 survivors, you need maybe 2 more emblem points. 3 survivors need 3, and 4 you need 4. Because survivor friends, let's face it, it's the easy mode, right?
Yeah.
It's the easy mode of DVD. Let's face it. Not for
But
me,
what
but
about the sure? But what about the
and
Survivor
what about
Friends
the killer,
groups
right?
that are matched up together that they just want to play for fun rather than winning or losing? I mean, do you think that
I
matters?
mean, yeah, if they want to play for fun, they wouldn't be very upset about pipping or de-pipping, right?
A fair
I would
point.
say, I think. Yeah. If you feel like you want to win, my fun for me is winning skillfully.
Yeah.
That's why I don't.
I think that's something that
the good
really does
survivors
need to
can't.
change in Dead by Daylight. The
Yeah.
devs need to establish a win condition. They need to tell
The
everybody
winning
very
condition,
clearly
yeah.
what winning or losing is in the game.
Maybe it would
'Cause-
be less frustrating than when you chase a killer, get chased for 5 gens. You get the pip because you got the chase plus the light bringer, and then in the end you get no face camp. Right? There's no face camp, but it is at the end because the kill has no other choice. And maybe like, hey, look, I won, I died, but my other team escaped and I pipped. The game tells me, hey, look, dude, you're amazing, you pipped. Instead of, hey, look, dude, you got sacrificed. Very obvious, right? Yeah. And maybe that would be GG, good game, have fun, instead of try hard, camper. I don't know. Maybe we help the game even more.
That would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
Is there anything else you want to tell anybody? Is there any like a final thoughts
I
or
would
anything?
a final. I thought I had a long time ago, and maybe it's broken or done, but I'll say it. What if when a gen pops, right? You pop a gen. What if there's a 1 minute cooldown before another gen can be popped? So that at least the match is 5 minutes long or 6 minutes long. I don't know. You can
That's
still
an
do the
interesting
gen,
idea.
right? You can still work on the gen, but it stays at 99, and the kill can pop it, kill can regress it.
What if that was applied
Yeah,
to what was it? Corrupt intervention, instead
Corrupt
of it
intervention.
stopping.
That'd be good.
Instead of it stopping gens at the beginning of a match, when a gen is finished, it blocks off all of the other gens for like 20 seconds or 30 seconds, or a minute might be too long, but like a short period of time might be interesting.
No, my idea was you can't pump the gen, but you can still work on the gen. It's not you get blocked. It's you can work on the gen, but they can't be finished. You get me?
Yeah.
I'm
not sure how that would be. That'd be interesting, though.
Excellent buff. Yeah, I think so too. And it would prevent gen rushes, so you can actually play the game as killer and not feel frustrated because the game ended in 4 minutes.
I guess we'll see what the comments have to say about that.
Yeah, they'll probably destroy me and be like, oh, you're insane. No.
Yeah, we'll
your
see.
comments are nice. That's why you have a lot of views for the quote unquote small streamer or YouTuber. You have a lot of comments. That's good.
All right.
People
right,
people
man.
really like you, Space. I like you too. You're nice.
Right on.
FYI, I watched you before the hack video.
Right on. All right. So, are there any other final notes you want to leave with the video for the chat?
When you're a survivor or killer, don't feel bad about losing, because at the end of the day, losing one match or two, it's fine. It's all right to lose. Right? As long as you hold your head high and you keep thinking that you're good or that you're important, it's fine. You don't have to be mad and say that you suck or they suck or whatever. Just keep on playing. And if you don't want to play, then go play something else. Go play Civ 4.
All right, man. Well, thanks for chatting with us today.
Love you.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too, dude.
Bye-bye.
Bye.